In the absolute chaos of World War II, survival came down to a single, unforgiving rule: kill before you are killed. Yet right into the middle of that violence walked one American soldier carrying absolutely zero equipment for combat. He had no rifle, he had no pistol, not even a knife. His own unit mocked him, and his commanders tried to remove him for his refusal to carry a weapon. But by the end of the conflict, Desmond Doss would emerge as one of the most decorated and celebrated figures in American military history. Doss's presence on the battlefield changed the equation of what a soldier could be. He proved that an individual can be vital to a war zone without contributing a single act of destruction. Desmond Doss was born into the bleak, crushing poverty of Virginia during the Great Depression. Survival was a harsh, daily reality for his family. His mother grounded that harsh reality in strict religious beliefs. One specific lesson permanently embedded itself in his young mind: an illustrated picture of Cain murdering his brother Abel. That single image of death terrified him. It struck him so deeply that he made an absolute, unbreakable vow to himself. Under no circumstances, not in self-defense, not for revenge, and certainly not in war, would he ever take a human life. That personal moral code was put to the test in 1941, when the violence of the world exploded onto American shores at Pearl Harbor. While millions of young men rushed to military recruiting stations eager to take up arms, Doss faced a severe internal conflict. He felt a profound duty to serve his country, but he refused to break his childhood promise. He volunteered for the army anyway. This created an immediate contradiction: a man sworn to nonviolence, willingly walking into a massive, organized machine designed for death. The friction started the moment Doss arrived at basic training. The military operates on strict uniformity and lethal efficiency. To the men around him, a soldier without a gun was a fatal liability. The chain of command tried to force him out. Officers screamed in his face, threatened him with court-martial, and told the unit that Doss's refusal to fight made him a danger to everyone. That animosity trickled down to his peers. They harassed him relentlessly, even throwing heavy combat boots at his head in the dark while he tried to sleep. But he refused to quit. Instead, he found a tactical path that satisfied both the Army's requirements and his own moral code. He trained to be a combat medic. The tactical geometry of a battlefield dictates a stark reality. When gunfire erupts, a rifleman seeks cover to lay down suppressive fire. A combat medic does the opposite. They leave their cover and sprint directly into the open kill zone to reach the wounded. By taking this role, Doss didn't secure a safer job. He volunteered to absorb the lethal risks of an infantryman, while intentionally surrendering his only means of defending himself. That reality caught up to him in 1945, during the invasion of Okinawa. Rain turned the island into thick mud, and American troops faced staggering casualty rates under an endless barrage of machine gun fire. The worst of it was a towering fortified cliff known as Hacksaw Ridge. The Japanese military had dug deep into the rock, creating a defensive stronghold where any American ordered to climb the ropes was stepping into an execution chamber. This was the environment where Doss was put to work. With artillery shells detonating all around him and no covering fire, he sprinted through the mud, physically dragging heavily injured men back from the front line. The shift in his unit was immediate. The same soldiers who had spent months mocking him watched as he repeatedly ran into the fire they were hiding from. On Hacksaw Ridge, the theoretical debates of basic training vanished. The men in his unit saw that Doss's refusal to fight didn't stem from fear, but from a level of resolve that allowed him to walk into the same danger they did, but without a weapon to protect him. Then came the night that defined his legacy. A massive counterattack resulted in a devastating tactical failure, forcing the surviving American troops to scramble back down the cliff under the cover of darkness. The retreat was frantic, and the ridge was surrendered to the enemy. In the chaos, dozens of wounded American soldiers were left in the mud, entirely abandoned and presumed dead. Every able-bodied man evacuated, except for one. Desmond Doss ignored the order to retreat and made the decision to stay on top of that cliff, entirely alone. Operating in pitch blackness, navigating mud while enemy patrols swept the area. He had no weapon or defense, just his medical kit and his convictions. Holding a peaceful belief in a safe place is one thing. Refusing to abandon your humanity while the world around you is violently demanding it requires a different kind of strength. He remained on the ridge to begin a rescue operation that no one ordered and that no one expected him to survive. Operating in near total darkness, Doss navigates enemy territory to hunt for survivors. He creeps through the dirt, feet away from Zapanese forces, locating men with shattered legs, men with severe burns, and critical blood loss. Once he finds a wounded man, the logistics are agonizing. He has to drag their broken bodies to the very edge of the ridge, tie a makeshift harness, and physically lower hundreds of pounds of weight down the sheer drop of the cliff face. Then, instead of resting, he turns around, crawls right back into the kill zone, and does it again. His muscles are failing, but he locks himself into a psychological loop. After every single man he lowers to safety, he resets with a simple prayer: "Please, Lord, help me get one more." By sunrise, Doss had executed this punishing cycle enough times to rescue roughly 75 men without firing a single shot. Refusing to carry a weapon meant his hands were entirely free to preserve life, turning an environment designed for total destruction into a site of mass preservation. The physical exhaustion of that night was immense, but the battle for the ridge continued for days. Shortly after the mass rescue, a grenade lands near his unit. The explosion tears through Doss, shredding his legs with shrapnel. Medics eventually reach him and load him onto a stretcher to navigate the chaotic evacuation, but Doss spots another critically injured soldier nearby. Bleeding heavily, he demands they give the stretcher to the other man first. While he is waiting in the dirt for them to return, a sniper spots him. A bullet strikes his arm, shattering the bone completely. Unable to walk and missing the use of an arm, Doss finally uses a weapon. He grabs a discarded rifle off the battlefield, binds the wooden stock to his shattered arm to create a splint, and crawls hundreds of meters to safety on his own. Doss's survival was the result of raw physical endurance. His actions proved that his pacifism required more resilience than the men who carried rifles ever realized. The men in his unit who had previously mocked him now viewed him as a protector, whose presence on the ridge was the only reason they were still alive. By the end of 1945, the nation officially recognized his actions. President Harry S. Truman stood before Doss and awarded him the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States, cementing his actions into official military record. A conscientious objector is someone whose personal beliefs forbid them from bearing arms. Doss was the very first person in American history to receive this medal under that pacifist classification. Desmond Doss went to war without a gun and saved 75 men, proving that on a battlefield defined by destruction, the bravest soldier can be the one.